The Water and Sanitation Department says municipalities' unpaid water bills stand at a staggering 13.1 billion rand. The department says despite intervention, the problem is getting worse. For more on this, we're joined via Skype by Economist at Municipal I-Q, Heese. Karen, thanks very much for your time. I mean, this has been going on for a very long time now. From what you know, what lies at the heart of the problem?
Good afternoon. Well, as you say, it has been carrying on for a long time, and when we have a look, we see that it's really a number of culprits who account for the bulk of Eskom and Water Board debt. And as any unfortunate household would know, the problem with debt is that it escalates. And obviously in dysfunctional municipalities, it is accumulated and there's more interest growing on it. And really why it started in the first place is there's poor management of finances. Essentially, consumers are billed for services and the amount either hasn't been collected or handed over to the utility providers. So it's a snowballing problem in quite a significant number of municipalities.
But are these culprits, as you call them, like really poorly managing their finances only? Is it not also isn't there a very real issue here that some of these municipalities actually cannot afford to pay their bills? It's as simple as all that.
I think the reason why we have seen it really come to the fore this year is because of recessionary pressures. I think in the past, sometimes we could say, well, there's been slack billing, there's been poor political will to follow up and collect what's outstanding from consumers. But I think you're quite right. I mean, this year we are seeing a decline from what's coming from the fiscus to support municipalities, as well as what consumers are able to pay. So municipalities really are squeezed in the middle. Of course, the other consideration is that those bulk utility costs around water and electricity have gone up way in excess of inflation. So consumers are hard-pressed, not only because of the recession, but because the cost per unit has gone up considerably. So on the one hand, municipalities have to pay these service providers, and on the other, the money's not coming in.
Just from your understanding of how the whole government system works, is there a point somewhere where someone should be able to say, here, objectively speaking, these are the problems of the municipality, but this particular set of problems is because of, let's say, the Department of Water and Sanitation, and that maybe as the government, whether it's national or provincial, whoever it might be, this is where we ought to come in, because it seems from the way things are at the moment, the municipalities, including those that really cannot afford, are being pitted against the Water Affairs Department, and there's no one with looking at this soberly as to whether indeed the problems are what they seem to be.
Well, I think there is important work in progress with an interministerial committee, which is looking at exactly that, trying to mediate between the service providers and the municipalities. One of the complaints that municipalities often give is that they bill the consumers every 30 days and Eskom expects payments every 15 days, for instance. So there is an attempt to try and mediate those concerns. I think the problem that committee has expressed is, firstly, just in the short time that's been sitting this year, the debt has escalated considerably. And I think queries have been raised about, firstly, the feasibility of the repayment plans that have been put in place, and secondly, the political will to actually carry them out at the municipal level.
But what about the capacity of those municipalities to actually do even that which they admit, are the things that they are supposed to do and things that are in their power to do?
Well, I think that's a policy issue that we actually heading towards at the moment, because in many cases we're not talking about tiny municipalities. We're talking about relatively large municipalities that have been empowered to take responsibility for these functions. And in these instances, the concern is that they aren't capable of doing it. And possibly it is a crisis for local government and whether its powers and functions are appropriate.
Are you saying that the municipalities that we're talking about include those that are perhaps that have better capacity than most, including metros, for example?
I think by and large the metros tend to cope quite well. I think it's the sort of next tier where the stress is being seen, and that is the level at which we see the economic pressures playing out too. So in theory, the capacity is there. In most instances, obviously not in all. The issue, I feel, is around leadership and governance and commitment to deal with this financial management.
Do you believe that the department that's responsible for local government is doing its part? And here's why I'm asking. One of the stories we're running now is around ESCOM. And municipalities owe ESCOM a lot of money. And it would seem that there's a better chance of ESCOM being listened to if one goes by the comments of parliamentarians today, for example, whereas you don't hear a voice from the executive or legislators that seems to be abreast with what is happening at local government, and that seems to have an ear of municipalities as well to say maybe they have a point here.
I think that's very much COGTA, the Cooperative Governance Department, is trying to deal with the interministerial committee. It's headed by the Minister, Zweli Mkhize. So I think there is an attempt to play that role, but the role there is really the impartiator. The role that should be played is by SALGA, the South African Local Government Association, in representing local government. And I think it's essentially quite a difficult role to play when there does appear to be, in many instances, malfeasance on the part of municipalities, and you have many residents and consumers and businesses looking to essentially try and pay directly to ESCOM in particular, to try and subvert the crisis of local government. So I think there really is quite a significant room for local government to represent itself as really an organisation or sphere that is representing the will and the interests of the people.
Karen, thanks very much for your time.